He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam.
Too many cars.
car. Roses would be...
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, what's right? I want to have a man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internet.
You know, is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
Very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke. Welcome to Auto Off Topic. How's it going, Brad?
Yep. Oof. Fresh start.
Oh, great.
Andrew,
Going great.
Everything is good. Yes. All is well. I had one of those moments there where I was just about to say something, and then my mind was like, no, I want to say something else, but it was too late, so I couldn't stop it. Just came spilling on out.
Yeah, it's this is obvious that we've been doing this for 7 years this month.
Listen, I've been talking for 43 years almost, and I still screw it up, so life goes on. Life goes on. Jay, 7 years this month?
Yep.
Yikes. We should be better at this by now.
November 2016.
That's crazy. I don't know what's crazier, that we've been doing this for 7 years or that November of 2016 was 7 years ago.
Yeah, that does not feel like 7 years ago, but...
No, absolute lifetime ago. Like, just thinking about everything that I've done in the past 7 years, absolute lifetime ago. But here we are, 7 years later, still playing with shitty old cars and talking about them on the radio.
Yeah. I accept it's not the radio. Or maybe it is on your radio.
We're aging into the time where we're supposed to say the pod and radio. So
yeah,
we started this. We were young and hip 7 years ago.
I don't know about hip. Definitely young.
Younger.
Yeah, younger. Still young.
Maybe the older we get, the easier it is to be hip with our age. Maybe that's how it is. We're not hip. We're hip within our age bracket.
Sure.
Give me something, Anders. Give me something here. Come on.
It sounds good to me.
Anyway, what's new with you, Andrew? Anything good other than celebrating 7 years of this?
I mean, I did do some car stuff.
You did?
Yeah.
Was there like Indian summer there all of a sudden?
Yeah, it was kind of nice last weekend, so I got some stuff done.
Excellent.
Because it was real cold this week, so.
I didn't get anything done this past weekend because we had some out-of-town guests from Massachusetts. Let me rephrase that, from New Hampshire. So we did some touristy stuff around here for a while. But I did get some stuff done after the fact in an attempt to prep a car for Radwood.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I've been going back and forth in my brain. There are 4 cars which are pretty much ready to go to Radwood, but not quite. So I could have taken the Sapporo, the 944, the Corolla, or the Eclipse. So at the last minute, I said, you know what? The 944 needs intake manifold gaskets done. Obviously, it hasn't been fixing itself. It's been getting worse as time's gone on. And it got to the point where the car barely idles. It just kind of pop in the driveway because the intake manifold gasket on the number 4 runner was pretty far blown out. So I said, looking at it, maybe this could be a quick enough job that I can blast through this and have the car ready to go for Radwood on Friday, which is, at the time of this recording, tomorrow. So I did. I dug into it. It's not incredibly difficult to take off. You got to remove the fuel rail. It's 4 10-millimeter bolts that hold the fuel rail on. So you pull the fuel rail off. All the injectors are attached as a fuel rail. That comes out. Then there are 8 6-millimeter Allen head bolts holding the intake manifold to the cylinder head. and then 110 and 113 holding a bracket on the other side, on the driver's side of the car. So I was able to start taking those all off. 2 of the Allen head bolts were pre-stripped, meaning I didn't have any chance because they were already stripped. They were on the number 4 runner, which makes me think that the reason that gasket blew out of number 4 is because the previous person who had the car apart stripped those Allen heads and put them on as tight as they could get them, but did not get them on tight enough because they couldn't, because of the rounding of the inside of them. So that's my quick self-diagnosis as to why it happened, because the other 3 look remarkably good, and just that one was blown out pretty hard. So that's my guess, is that it wasn't torqued down properly, because it couldn't be because of that rounded out bolt. Thankfully, I have extractors for the Allen head style bolts. I don't remember when I needed them, but obviously I needed them at some point because I have them. So I had the correct size, pounded it in, was able to get them off. I'm going to admit right here that I did put them back in, only because I was able to properly torque them with that extractor piece in there. The only reason I did that was because I don't have any other ones. So I put them back in. I did order 2 of the proper bolts for that, so that I will be able to just change them out without taking the whole car apart. Just do one at a time. So, but I was able to get them in there at least. I do want to change them out so the next person that goes into that does not have that same surprise. Plus, there's only so many times you can use the extractor before you have to
screw 'em.
start cutting it and slot it. Well, listen, I want to make it right. So I'm going to make it right. I'm not going to blame the previous owner of the car, who is obviously our friend Bradley. He didn't do anything on the intake, so he's off the hook. So looking into the VIN number history of the car, if you Google the VIN number, you can find a for sale ad for the car from like 2012, and it had a bad cylinder head. So at that point, somebody obviously had the top of the motor apart because they put a cylinder head on it, and that's probably the person that stripped those bolts out. So it is all together. It was a pretty simple process. I think all in, start to finish, including cleaning up afterwards and going on a test drive, a little under 3 hours. So not tremendously difficult. I was hoping to do it a little faster, but the act of cleaning up the old gasket material and dealing with the rounded off bolts added a little bit of time. So I think given all that, 3 hours start to finish wasn't too bad. Fired the car up. It ran like absolute garbage. But my assumption is, the car has like some kind of a learning process. It's electronic fuel injection with an ECU of sorts. So it probably had learned how to run with that massive vacuum leak. And when I stopped the massive vacuum leak, it ran like absolute garbage. But within, 25 seconds of starting it, it smoothed itself out and it runs great now. And I drove it, around the block, and I had an appointment in town today. I took it there, and was pretty much all set to buff it out and get it ready for Radwood. And I decided to do a little bit more checking on things, because I do still have a little bit of a weird shimmy in the front, which I think we talked ad nauseum about my new tires. So the old tires probably masked it or made it worse. And I had new tires on there, and everything's nice and balanced, and I still have a little shimmy in the front. So I jacked it up and to kind of do a pre-trip inspection, and it failed my comfort level of wheel bearing wear. So after all that, car's not going to Radwood because I'm leaving tomorrow, and I don't have wheel bearings at my house. So there's that. But so I think it's going to be an Eclipse trip to Radwood, Andrew. I think it's going to be the...
You think so?
The backup plan. Yeah. I want to do the exhaust and the Corolla before I go that far. I still want to get a real alignment on the car. So I'm not going to hit the Corolla. The Eclipse is pretty much ready to go. Sapporo hasn't moved in like 8 months. I think that'd be a lot to ask of it just to take it out and go. So I think the Eclipse is going to be the way. So after we record this podcast, the Eclipse is going to get a nice washing because it hasn't had one in a while. So, which is good because I did a lot of work to that car too, and hopefully it all runs good now, and that'll be a good shakedown for my final shakedown really of the car before it moves on out of my ownership. So I think that's where we're at. So that's my project car update. Yeah. 3 hours of work told in 35 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, but
No
at
real
least it's
surprises.
done now.
Yeah, and everything went, like I said, fairly smoothly. Felt pretty good when it was all over, and I managed to, get through it and get it all done. Because sometimes those little hiccups, like the bolts being stripped, really throw you for a loop, and you lose all your motivation.
I've hammered cheap Torx into a hex head that are stripped to get them off. That also works.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
I had the proper size extractor, so it worked. So
Yeah,
we'll take
it's
it.
good.
It is what it is. I was ready to slot it and try to get it out, but didn't have to.
No, so I talked about getting the spark plugs for Stephanie's Crosstrek because that's now crossed into out of warranty, needs regular maintenance intervals now.
Sure.
So it has almost 60,000 miles on it. So I did the oil change, did the plugs, which I've talked about this before, but like 99% of Japanese cars use NGK plugs.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure you can get them at Napa. I know you can definitely get them from Rock Auto. I don't think like the other parts stores really carry NGKs for some reason, which is annoying because they're the OEM plug. So I think when I looked them up, they were like $30 a piece from the online Subaru parts dealer, which is really expensive.
Like a lot of money for standard plugs.
Well, they're like laser iridium things. They're not copper.
Okay.
And so you look them up on like Rock Auto. I think maybe I spent like $40 for the 4 with shipping or something like that. Maybe it was like,
okay, so $10 a piece. That seems more reasonable.
yeah, or maybe it was like 60 or something. They weren't like $30 a piece though for 4. So
no, that's a significant savings when it's almost the same for all 4 that they charge for 1.
yeah, and I don't even know what a dealer would charge you because I mean I've done plugs on Subarus before. I did on my WRX and other cars, probably Stephanie's old Outback, and the big thing is that it's just like taking stuff out of the way so you can get to it. The other thing you can, because of right to repair laws, all manufacturers have service information websites. You can pay a 1-day subscription fee, or it usually gets you like 3 days or something. It's like, it depends on the website. Like Subaru one, it's like $30 for 72 hours of access. So you can go in and download all the service manual stuff you want and print it out or save it to computer. Pro tip. So like I was checking the process for doing the spark plugs, and it's really just like take out the airbox, take out the battery, remove a bracket on the battery side that a major, like the harness the ECU connects to, but it like loops in front of one of the coils. So you just like undo it, lift it up, and then you've got access to all the coils. Back ones were like a little tricky because they're like kind of cut down by the frame rail, but you just kind of had to like maneuver things out. And then I'm glad I checked because we've got, between my dad and I, we've got a bunch of trick spark plug sockets for doing different cars. And I double checked the size of these before I took anything apart. And it's kind of like modern Toyotas are the same way. They like really use a really small spark plug socket. These are 14.
Yeah, I think the set I bought a set of like spark plug sockets, and I think it came with the tiny little one for Toyota specifically.
Yeah,
obviously also Subaru, which Subaru and Toyota have some shared engineering now, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So luckily Subarus are super common here, and I checked the local Napa dealer because nobody else seemed to list the right socket, and they had one. And I called him up and I was like, yeah, 14 millimeter. He's like, spark plug socket? I was like, yep. He's like, oh, okay, yep. He's like, I just got one back in. He's like, we sell them every now and then because people need them for Subarus. All right, cool. And it was like $6. I was like, sweet.
Not bad.
So once I had the right socket,
yeah. Much affordable.
Yeah, because the problem is, yeah, I could have used a 14 deep, but would it have been deep enough? Because the spark plug one's actually longer. Would have been deep enough for the length of the top of the spark plug. And the other problem is you're trying to reach down in there, try to hold the spark plug, hold it as I put it into the spark plug tube in the side of the head, so horizontally, and then trying to find the threaded hole with it by hand to try to thread it in, right? So if you don't have the spark plug socket with the little piece of rubber to hold it in there, like there's a really good chance you're just going to drop the spark plug, which is going to either damage the tip of it and then generally just drive you insane. So
correct.
Really, for $6, it's really useful to have a spark plug socket.
Yeah, 100%. It's easier than the old method of like trying to put something sticky in the top of the socket that doesn't fall down inside. So
I mean, you could cut a piece of rubber and shove it in there and make your own, but it's not necessarily. I don't know if it's going to work. Some of them have like magnets now, which also work well.
It might as well just use the standard type that is designed to do what it's supposed to do. So
yeah,
for as cheap as they are, they're totally worth it.
Yeah, both rears were like a little tricky. The front ones were a lot easier, and then of course, with everything out of the way, it probably took me like 2 or 3 hours, maybe. And then the oil change on those cars is like insanely easy. Like there's not even, it's got the full under tray, but they just left a cutout where the drain plug is. There's not even a door; it's just cut out.
Oh, that's cool.
And then of course the filter's on the top. So it's like I drained it and I was like, oh yeah, I gotta go up top. The filter's up top, and you just pull it off.
I helped a neighbor do their oil change of their Hyundai Tiburon the other day.
Yeah.
And they have no under tray on that car. Like a main under tray is not in the way. But they had this little like 6-inch by 7-inch under tray that just covers the filter. I was like, what? Why? Like, what is the point of this? It's 4 bolts to get this thing out of the way to get the filter out. It doesn't do anything except block the filter. Didn't make any sense at all.
I don't know.
Yeah. So dumb. Anyway, much easier when they don't have anything. Much more preferred, actually. So,
well,
good stuff.
That's hard to find on a modern car because the aerodynamics, everything's got covers. Because you can, even on a car that's not like a super economy car, it does help with economy.
Subaru was like, nah.
It's crazy because it's got a full engine tray, and then it's got full plastics down each side of the car on either side of the drive shaft tunnel.
Yeah, it's common on a lot of cars now. I think BMW was in the first. I remember doing that. Just completely covering the car in plastic.
Smooth bottom.
Sure. Not unlike a Formula One car.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a Formula One car.
Same deal.
Yeah. I think the car runs a little better. It was kind of island.
It probably does. I mean, it's got 60K in those plugs.
Yeah. So it was worth it.
I'm sure it makes a difference. Fresh parts always help. Even if it's just that seat of the pants feel a little better. It was running fine, but not fine enough.
Yeah, it was due. They were a little worn.
Listen, after you wash a car, it runs better. So,
that's the other thing. Better. So it was nice out. I washed and waxed it, so it definitely ran better after that.
Always. What was it? The HMA car wash and sale, you should say. A clean car is a happy car.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and you used some new product I saw for the black plastics too.
Yeah, I used it on the All Track the other weekend too. I basically did the same exact thing. I did the ceramic coat and the McGuire stuff And
Right.
McGuire's has part of the same system is ceramic trim stuff, and it seems to work really well.
Nice.
Because I'd never actually put anything on the trim of that car ever. I'd waxed it a couple times, but I hadn't put anything on it yet. So,
Well, it still looks
yeah.
pretty good considering.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
did.
It's a 4-year-old car. So,
Yeah, and it always lives outside. So,
Yep.
well, all day long it sits in a parking garage in the shade, so that probably helps. But
Probably.
most of the time it lives outside.
But nonetheless, it's still a 4-year-old car with nothing on there protecting it. And, manufacturers have done a much better job in the past few years with those black plastics than they did, say 20 years ago.
It definitely had some like stippling, I don't know what you call it, like lines in it, especially around the rear reflectors
Okay.
that have gone away that I put the product on. So
Yeah, those
And
lines have something to do usually with like the mold process. Like I'm not sure if it's how it gets poured into the mold or what. That's what I was told a long time ago, that it's related to the mold process.
yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a, it's not my favorite trend in car design, but when they're cleaned up, they do look nice.
I mean, is it really a trend? It's been going on since the early 80s, really.
What black? Oh no, black cladding, like crossover cladding.
Black trim, period. Like textured
Yeah,
black
but not
trim.
in the extent of like now.
I don't know.
where it's like-
like my Sapporo has got 4-inch wide black trim the whole way around the car.
Okay,
And it's
but
that
it's
same
not
textured black plastic. Both the
That's not what I'm
Corolla
talking
and the
about,
81
though.
Cressida have big black bumpers that are kind of the same kind of.
sorta. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
I mean,
like
it's
the fact
not the
that
same.
every new car has black cladding over the wheel wells.
Sure, that's fairly recent, more recent.
Yeah.
But using black plastic on exterior trim has been a thing since like really the early 80s, I think, and it's
Which
only
I don't
the
know
past
if it
couple
makes
years it's gotten better.
if it's to make cars feel taller or I don't know, to keep the edges from getting chewed up.
I'm not sure.
I don't know what it is.
I think it's ease of design to make a difference between models. Like,
I guess.
oh, this one has colored trim, so it's an Impreza. This one has black trim, so it's a Crosstrek. That's kind of all they do.
I ended up behind a Corolla Cross today, and I thought a RAV4 pulled out in front of me. I was like, I don't understand why this vehicle exists.
No, it doesn't make any sense. You know why it exists? It exists because people buy it.
Yeah.
It's the same reason there's a Rogue and a Murano and a Kicks. Same reason there's an HRV and a CRV and a CHR and a RAV4 and so many. It just doesn't even matter anymore.
But anyway, Stephanie's car actually has more black trim than the All-Track. So like I used it on the doors because those are matte and they had like a bunch of fingerprints and looked kind of weird. Like
if Stephanie's car came out today, it would be called an Impreza Cross.
Probably.
Yeah.
Outback Cross. I don't know what it's weird.
Well,
right?
the Outback was already the off-road vehicle, so probably the Outback. It'll be the Impreza Cross.
I'm surprised they didn't call it Outback Sport. Like just keep that name because that was already an existing thing.
Well, it's the same reason that Mitsubishi went with the Eclipse Cross. Just trying to make things a little different. Eclipse Cross, Corolla Cross keeps the brand identity, but also gives it something new. Well, I guess Subaru we're talking about didn't do that, but
no, they're actually called XVs, and they changed them to Crosstreks.
Yeah, I forgot the first one. They weren't Crosstrek XV; they were just XV.
Yeah,
Impreza XV.
Yeah,
you're right though. The Outback Sport would have made sense,
right?
Because that's
what it was.
Impreza with two-tone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know. It's weird.
We're not.
What's also weird is that the car has like 3 little rust bubbles on the roof, like in a weird spot that don't look like rock chips. Because there's also like I feel like if you get rock chips, you don't get bubbling around them.
Well, you get bubbling around them if it broke all the way to the bare metal and moisture is spreading underneath.
Yeah,
That's
it's just weird because
What it reminds me of is 90s Mitsubishi, where they had the glue they used on the interior, roof rail that got moisture in it and stayed moist and rusted from the inside out. That's what it looks like. But I'm assuming it's not that. I'm assuming it started on the outside. And one of the things that I've seen being in the industry in the oceanfront areas is damage on roof panels sometimes comes from birds. Especially if you're down by the ocean somewhere and a bird picks up like a mussel shell and they'll drop it from, way up to crack it open and it'll hit a car and damage a car roof in that kind of area. And that'll, split the paint and open up an area for it to get, especially you have a cluster of one little area like that.
I guess it's weird. It's real weird because it's not in a spot that you would get rock chips. It's way far back on the roof.
That's what I mean. That's one of those I've seen happen, whereas the bird will, how like the seagulls pick up the mussels, and they fly way up in the air and they drop them to smash them open. Well, obviously they don't care what they land on, and a lot of times it's cars, and they do some damage to some panels. They do damage to panels like that, and I've seen that happen in the past. And obviously that car.
There's a couple other spots that you can see that were
ocean,
definitely rock chips that are like rusty that I need to clean up, but they don't have bubbling around them, which is weird. That they went all the way down to bare metal.
They didn't go as deep,
Yeah, but they're rusty, so they went down to bare metal.
Yeah, it's all in the adhesion of the paint and how the impact was and how much of it is. There's so many variables that it could be. Like all it takes is one little space for moisture to get in there, and there's no stopping it. So
yeah.
I mean, cars are better about it now. Cars have like the E-coat on them when they get built at the manufacturer, which is a coating before the primer coating, which helps stop that from happening as often. But nothing's perfect, and that stuff happens. So sucks, but it's part of the reality of owning a car, right?
Yeah.
So
just a weird spot for it, but
is what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a daily driver.
Yep. And considering it's a 60,000 mile car that lives in New England and has driven all year and lives outside, it's in pretty good shape.
Yeah. The majority of it, like there's rust spots on the doors behind the front wheels. And that comes off because it's probably from brakes.
So it's just like surface rust, not rust under the paint.
It's like iron particles.
Yeah. Kind of like what they call the rail rust. Which actually you could have rail rust too because you guys live near a train track. So
not that close.
Close enough. Gets in the air and goes everywhere. So
not an active,
the trains don't go by you guys enough. Probably is probably what it is. Distance to the track is fine, but not a very active track, and the trains go super slow through there. So
what's crazy to me is like I was on the highway the other day in traffic, and there was a newer Explorer. It's probably like 10 years old. The rear brakes must have gone on it at some point, metal to metal. So like the rear wheels were completely coated in rusty iron particles.
Mm-hmm.
It was a white truck, and so was all of the back of the truck was coated in rust stains.
Just orange
from the dust. Yeah. Like that's just like, I don't know how you let it go that far.
Well, it's easy, Andrew. You just don't care.
Yeah, I guess.
Ultimately, that's what it is. You have so little care given to taking care of the vehicle, it just doesn't matter.
But anyway, what else we got?
Oh, a couple things. So obviously Radwood is this weekend. That was what I'm prepping cars for. Multiple cars now because of reasons. A couple of new car things I found interesting. That I know we don't usually talk new car news, but this one here kind of blew my mind a little bit. And it's something that you would only hear from Dodge. So Dodge is making, or I guess I should say Ram, is making an electric pickup truck.
Yes, I saw.
Have you heard about this?
I did.
Have you heard the weird thing about it?
It's not that weird. It's kind of smart.
You don't think so?
No.
So I think it's odd, and I feel like only Dodge would be like, we're making an EV truck, but under the hood, it's going to have a 3.6 liter V6.
Yeah, charges the batteries.
It struck me as so strange. Like, instead of doing an electric truck, it's going to be an electric truck with an onboard generator, and that onboard generator is literally a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6.
Okay.
It just seems like such a Dodge thing to do.
Yeah, but what is everybody complaining about? How much range they have and
Yeah,
where to
range
charge
anxiety.
it.
Yeah.
So, like, fine, we'll fix that by putting a generator on board. And I believe it also works bi-directional, where you can it'll like it has onboard power to like power tools and like power a house.
It does. But this V6 engine is not connected to the chassis of the truck at all.
No, it's just a generator.
It's literally there just to generate power for the electric motors.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems counterintuitive.
That's super smart.
To me. It is and it isn't. It just seems dumb.
Why?
I mean,
Why is it dumb?
Because we're still making a gas-powered vehicle.
No, we're not. It's not running all the time.
Okay.
The majority of the time it won't run because you can charge it like plugged in if you're smart about it.
So
where it's handy is if you're out like on a job site, you don't have anywhere to charge it. You want to run stuff.
The range is going to be the range of the vehicle is 690 miles.
Yeah. So think about being a contractor. Instead of bringing out a gas generator you're going to fire up and it's super loud and noisy, you can just run this thing. It's probably super quiet because it's got full car exhaust. I mean, they're going to put they're still going to put two duals on it anyways that lose custom, but you know.
Yeah. Well, it's 690 miles of range, 140 of which is by the battery alone.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't seem very efficient at that point. If of your 690 miles, only 140 of it is battery range, and you're just going to be running the whole time you're running the truck.
I don't know how it works.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't.
Yeah, but 140 miles is like a week's worth of commuting.
And I agree 100%. The 145 miles is great.
If you're charging anytime you're parked, it doesn't matter what the range is.
So now we're charging, we're just idling?
No, you plug it in.
Is it also going to be a plug-in?
Yes, that's how it charges. Yeah, it has a plug-in to charge, yeah.
Nothing about it says that it's plug-in. I haven't seen that yet, so... Okay,
Why would it not be plug-in? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. I just saw this, and it struck me as odd, and I'm not sure.
It would be odd if you couldn't plug it in. Yes, that would be dumb.
You can plug it in. Yes.
Yeah.
But the whole thing just struck me as odd, and it just seemed very Dodge. We're like, we're gonna make an EV, but it's still gonna have a big old 3.6 liter gasoline engine in it. It's
just handy if you're out somewhere and you don't have the ability to charge. It's like your backup, which is fine. You shouldn't be using it all the time.
I guess. I will
it's still
say
probably more fuel efficient to charge than to actually drive the truck on gas.
I will say that they did kill it with the name. So we'll give it that.
What's the name? Ram Charger?
Yes.
Yeah.
As it should be. Ford blew it with Lightning. But
they didn't.
These guys, Lightning should have been the name for the powerful truck. It shouldn't have been the electric truck.
What are you talking about? Lightning is electricity.
Yeah, but it should have been like E150 or something that was historic in their name.
No, Lightning makes way more sense.
I don't like it.
I know somebody that has the new Lightning and put the old decals on. Looks super cool.
Is the new Lightning not have the same logo?
No.
It did.
Put the 90s ones on. It looks awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was strange. It struck me as weird, and maybe I'm wrong. I was uncomfortable with it. It just seems strange. It just seems like it's just make it powered by a V6. It just seems like the way to go. So much less expensive and less complicated.
It's probably actually less complicated to not have it connected through a drivetrain.
Oh, I disagree that it's less complicated by adding a bidirectional power source plus the engine.
It is.
Sure.
It's not. There's no mechanical stuff to engineer. It's all electronic.
Yeah. Well, I'm uncomfortable with it.
Totally separate.
Maybe it's because we've been doing it for 7 years, and now I'm becoming the grumpy old man yells at cloud.
I guess you are.
It seems weird to me, and I don't love whatever's going on with it. It's not. I don't know. It doesn't seem like the right way to do it. And again, I'm not anti-hybrid. I'm not anti-electric. This just seems strange. I can't wait for somebody to swap out their 3.6 liter V6 for a 6 liter supercharged Hemi. Because you know what's going to happen.
What? It's not connected to anything now.
I know, but somebody's going to do it anyway. Anyway, the cool thing about it is that the new RAM charger, I guess, is going to be ridiculous. I don't know what the Lightning specs are, but this is going to be the equivalent of 660 horsepower and do 0 to 60 in 4 seconds.
Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Way faster than it needs to be, and I'm sure it weighs 9,000 pounds. So I don't know how they're going to stop it, but it is what it is. I guess electric generated braking stuff is better too, but still crazy to think about that.
Yeah, you can put a lot of drag on regen. So
yeah,
plus the brakes.
Basically, it's going to be ridiculously fast. So anyway, the other interesting piece that I heard today, I was in a continued education course for work today about electric cars in general.
Yeah.
And just an interesting fact I wanted to bring up because it is odd in the construction of vehicles. Lucids. Are the first vehicle to be made without any use of a welder. The entire car is screws and glues. There's no welding anywhere.
I feel like somebody forgot about the Elise, but sure.
There's still welding in the backbone of the chassis and whatnot in that. There's literally no welding at all in this. Like nothing in this car is welded.
I thought the Elise was glued together.
So the Elise has a welded backbone, like a chassis underneath, and then all the panels are bonded to it. But the different structure of the undercarriage of all the metal underneath the car is glued together. But then everything is bonded to it. The Lucid Air has got absolutely nothing that's welded. All the main superstructures of the cars are cast instead of being put together from multiple pieces of steel. So it's interesting. The good thing about it is obviously it makes it modular, easy to fix and easy to build. But the negative about it is when those cast pieces get damaged, there's no fixing them. So you have to replace them. So you got to dig pretty deep into the car. So, a standard car gets hit in the quarter panel and all the metal inside the quarter panel shifts. Now the problem is you hit a Lucid in the quarter panel, and behind that quarter panel is a giant cast piece of, steel. So it can't be repaired. So,
is your insurance higher for one of these cars? Like a
time.
Lucid, a Tesla?
Yeah. Yep. Not as much for the Model 3, I think, because the Model 3 is a fairly standard construction, mostly steel. But all of the other ones are all aluminum, high-strength steel, crazy rules for fixing them. Tesla's rules for fixing cars are very strict. So it definitely costs more to insure one. So
I read somewhere, I don't know how true it is, that they don't really sell crash parts.
They sell crash parts.
Yep.
So there are certain crash parts that you need to be a Tesla certified repair facility to buy.
Yep.
There are crash parts that you don't need to be a Tesla certified repair facility to buy. But if it's part of a structure of the vehicle that requires what Tesla considers specialized equipment that Tesla needs to supply the instructions for using and kind of be involved in the repair process, they won't sell you that part. Like an inner quarter panel for a Model 3, a Model S,
X,
you wouldn't be able to buy if you were X or S, either way. You wouldn't be able to buy if you were Andrew's Auto Body. If you were Andrew's Auto Body, who had taken all the Tesla courses, ran through all the Tesla training, and followed their protocols, then you could buy it. If the outer skin was damaged, you as Andrew's Auto Body could buy the part, because it's not a part that requires any special equipment, because there's no structure to it. It's just the outer skin. So that's how they do it right now. Every part has an indicator on the part of whether it's a factory Tesla part. A Tesla certified part has to be, or Tesla certified repair facility needs to use it, or a regular repair facility can use it. One of the big issues, though, and I'm hoping this stays just with Tesla and doesn't become industry standard, or hopefully somebody stops Tesla from doing this. If you are not a Tesla certified part, you pay retail for all the parts. If you're not a Tesla certified repair facility, you pay retail for everything. So me as Mr. Insurance Man goes to your shop. Now, traditional car manufacturers, you get somewhere between 20 and 35% off your parts, right? So we sell you the parts, or we as an insurance company pay for the parts at retail. You make your money on the margin, right? Tesla does not allow that unless you're a Tesla certified shop. Then you get either 25 or 30% off. If you're not Tesla certified, there's no discount, no way to get a discount. And us as the insurance company are not going to pay over retail for the part. So we will pay the body shop retail. So a lot of body shops that aren't certified, even on minor jobs, are turning them down because there's no margin, and body shops don't make their money at their $65 an hour labor rate. They make their money
No, the labor rates need to come up in Massachusetts, especially.
Everywhere. I mean, the rates here are lower than Mass right now. So that's one of the things that's pretty much nationwide. Body shop rates are low. You go to a mechanic and, $200 an hour for a dealership mechanic is probably pretty average right now. And most
dealerships
body shops
price. So
correct. An average is, I like to say, about 200, because they're anywhere from 150 to 300 is what I expect.
Yeah.
Some of the higher end places, like the Land Rover here in Scottsdale, is like $700 an hour. Ridiculous. So yeah, something like that. Ridiculousness. Maybe not Scottsdale, but there's some Land Rover deal that's like $700. I haven't seen any other deals. Even the Lamborghini dealer is only like $250. But anyway, so mechanical labor rates are set in that general range, whereas the body shop labor rate is $65-$70.
Yeah.
So it's real difficult to make money on pure labor alone, which is why they, different parts departments, they fight for the body shop's business, and they'll say, hey, how much business do you do with, say, Ford? Oh, we'll give you this much. We'll give you 40% off all the parts. So obviously that, body shop's gonna be like, absolutely. They make 40% of every part, then they don't worry as much about the labor rate. But if Tesla's not going to sell them part for a discount, they're not going to fix the car, because now, they're putting just as much time and effort into the car for 40% less profit. So it doesn't become worth it. And we've had arguments with these shops like, oh, well, we paid this, so you need to mark it up. No, we don't need to mark it up. We need to pay you retail price. That's what we do. You negotiate with the dealers for parts. We pay retail. We're not going to change it just because it's Tesla. We're not going to pay you over retail. We're not going to take the hit. You're not going to, they don't want to take the hit. So they got to not fix the cars, and it's going to kind of really run those cars to the Tesla certified repair facilities. So I don't love it. It's hard to justify it, but I don't like Tesla as a company. Again, not anti-electric car, not anti-pushing the future, but Tesla as a company has a lot of shady things that I do not like, and that's one of them. So it's a little difficult to deal with them. So thankfully, I learned today that I work for State Farm, and we're one of the largest insurers in the country, and Teslas are like 1% of our book of business. So it's not super common, or a little less than 1% of our entire book of business. So at this moment in time, it's not super common. And the other electric car companies aren't doing the same thing quite yet, because they don't have the power to do that. So I also learned that that company VinFast.
Yeah,
So they're the Korean electric cars that are starting to trickle into this country.
Vietnamese, I think.
Vietnamese, okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the batteries on those?
No.
You lease them separate from the car.
Okay.
So you buy the car or lease the
Yep.
car. It
Yep.
doesn't include the battery. The battery is
Mhm.
leased separate from leasing the vehicle.
Is this so I get better batteries over time? I don't.
Theoretically, this is so that if the battery dies, you don't replace the car. You just replace the battery, which in my brain is the same
Isn't
as
that the
anything.
warranty?
Well, they're separate. It would be when the warranty expires, I guess. We were just chatting about that in this meeting today. Like, we don't even know how we're going to insure that yet, because how do you justify selling it separate? I don't even understand. Here's your electric car. Paperwork's all done. Oh, you want to use it? Oh, hold on. Now you get to buy. Now you sell you a battery. I mean, I guess we should have seen this coming. It's just like, waking up on Christmas morning at 7 years old and getting all these new toys and no AA batteries. So I guess it's kind of the same.
Yeah, but it's kind of weird. I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's
I
what
heard
they're
they
going to try
weren't
to do.
really-
So we'll see how it
I
works.
heard they weren't really well built cars to begin with.
That's also seems to be a problem, but that's one problem at a time, Andrew.
Like from the automotive journalists I follow on social media, they're like, yeah, these cars are like half ready. Like they're not.
Well, you don't have to
The-
worry about the battery. You don't have to worry about it wearing out if it doesn't have a battery. Can't even use it. It's
Yeah,
totally fine.
or if it just car falls apart before they need to use it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. And then if the car falls apart, do you now still own the battery? You just use it to power your house. What do you do with that? So, I don't know. It's a whole new world coming up with cars, and it still remains to be seen if it's going to be the way of the future, or if it's just kind of a stumbling block towards what the future technology winds up being. Right. So,
Rivians are selling the van separately now from Amazon.
are they really?
They no longer have an exclusive contract. Yeah.
Interesting. Those things
Yep.
also look like they're questionable quality because every Amazon van that I see is half falling apart already.
Really? I've seen a couple of them. They look fine.
They're all missing panels. You can literally watch them go down the road, and the whole side panels just flex as they drive. The plastic panels below the molding all seem to fall off. I don't know if it's
That's because
bad
people hit
drivers.
stuff with them.
I don't know, but it just seems it
That's-
seems like
I
all
think
of them I
that's 'cause-
see are in questionable condition.
I think it's people clip stuff with them.
Probably they give them to anybody with a license, so
Yeah.
there's really no official test in driving them. So, I mean, they're cool looking. There are, I guess, cool looking is out there where they're different looking. You can definitely see them coming, but that'll be interesting to start seeing them sold to other people. But Rivian's another whole story when it comes to repair on those. They have what almost looks like a traditional frame under them. It's not a traditional frame, but it looks like a traditional frame that the battery goes in the middle of. So when the battery's out of it, if you put like an F-150 frame next to a black and white image of a Rivian frame, they almost look the same. But the problem is the Rivian frame is constructed from like 7 different alloys. So as of right now, there's no repairing it. So if it gets in an accident and gets damaged, you need to replace that entire frame section, which is, $15,000 currently. So
Cool.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff is happening with this. There's so much new technology happening and so many things changing in the cars, and it's gonna be a lot to keep up with. But
Gosh darn it, they should have never went away from wooden frames.
right, yeah. Well, you want
Any
go buy a
carpenter
Morgan.
could have fixed it.
Go buy a Morgan.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's the electric car news moment segment of the day. Just some weird things here and there. You're less weirded out by the V6 generator in the new Ram, but
I definitely am.
maybe
fine.
it's a great idea. It just seems odd to me. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. So I hope you're right. I hope it's totally normal and fine. It just seems odd. So theoretically, it'll just last forever if all it does is just sit there and basically idle all day. It'll be like a generator and a server. Just runs and runs and runs, right?
Well, I mean, you get all them, like, that's like the same V6 they put in like some of the police packages. And they just sit there and idle and like details all the time. So,
Sure. But I'm saying it's a good thing. Like it'll last forever, just idling.
will it have an hour counter or a mileage counter? I wonder.
I'm sure it'll have a mileage counter because it'll probably have both.
Yeah.
It'll probably have both. Like my old diesel truck had both. So not uncommon, I guess.
Anyway, let's
NASCAR.
go to the complete opposite of electric cars. Let's go to NASCAR.
NASCAR. Well, listen, they use their hybrid now, or biofuel. They say.
It's been that like that for years. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
that's we're still talking green
E110 or
car technology.
something. It's mostly
Yeah.
methanol.
Something like that. I don't know exactly what the deal is, but anyway,
I don't know
season finale was
It's
Phoenix.
they came in for that Sunoco race fuel,
yeah.
topped up with 4 Goodyear tires.
So they made it to Phoenix, which is
They
the
did.
final race of the year. You watched the race, I assume.
I did. It was a really good race.
Excellent race. The cool
I
thing,
think it was exactly what they were
guess-
looking for.
Yeah, for sure. The cool thing is, so it's the last race, the final 4 drivers that can win the championship. Now, don't worry about points. They don't worry about stage points. All it is the end of the race. The finishing order of those 4 drivers is all that matters. So if one finishes 5th and one finishes 10th and one finishes 21st and one finishes 30th, the guy who finished 5th wins the championship. Kind of a cool way to do it. However, the 3 remaining drivers by the end of the race finished 2nd through 4th, 2, 3, 4. So I guess that's a big reason as to why they're, champions, because they're up at the front all the time, right?
Yep,
I think the coolest thing this year. So Ryan Blaney won the championship.
he did.
Ryan Blaney did not win the race,
No, he didn't.
and that's
Which
the
apparently
first
never
time
happened
that's
before.
happened. Yeah, that's the first time that's happened.
All right,
So
I want to
think
back
it's
up
great.
a little bit.
Okay.
It's Kevin Harvick's last race of his career.
Yes, correct.
He got out and led a few laps, and I was like, man, it would be really cool if his car stayed fast and he actually won this race. I'm not a huge Harvick fan, but it would be like really cool to have the guy that's retiring win the last
Sure.
race.
Absolutely.
Didn't happen that way,
Nope.
but he's still top 10, which was like he's got the most top 10s at any one track now. That's his record.
Yes.
It was like 21 or something, or 22 top 10s at Phoenix
in a row. Yeah. Crazy.
Like more than Petty, more than like a bunch of other real good drivers.
Yep. Yeah. So I think he finished 7th.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it might even be 7th or better. 21 times might be what it was.
Yeah.
But still, crazy. He's obviously good there. So if he had a chance to win anywhere, it was definitely there. So I thought for a little bit that even Elliott might have got his first win as the final race, because Elliott hasn't had a winless season since he won his first race. So
Weird.
crazy. Yeah.
He didn't
His
win
first
any.
one. I mean, he missed half the season,
He did.
which is a big part of it. So, but he didn't win any races at all this year.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, is what it is. He was for a long time. He was one of my favorite drivers, but only because he's Bill Elliott's son.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, he's kind of a boring interview and a boring human being. So I like to see him win, but I'm less of a Elliott fan than I used to be. So
I'm Team Trackhouse, man. I'm telling you.
100%. Yeah.
Because it's like, so here's the thing, right? Blaney is Penske.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Larson, Hendrick, Byron,
Yep.
Hendrick.
Yep.
Elliott, Hendrick.
Yep.
So like massively huge dynasty teams. Like they have won so many championships. Like Penske
Sure.
is probably has won everything everywhere. Like every
No
form
question.
of motorsport.
No question.
So then you have just this basically upstart team who was running out first last weekend. Was pretty cool.
So I'm kind of into both teams that I'm into because they're underdogs.
Yeah.
Not that Trackhouse doesn't have money, because you have to have money to field a multi-car
Oh, yeah.
team in NASCAR. So it's not like it's like some guy's, corner garage who's out there
No.
racing. It's still a massive
No.
multi-million-dollar corporation.
But
it's
they're
not
not a
Penske. It's not
They're not a They're not a 50-year-old team.
right. Although one of my favorite teams is the oldest team of all of them, which is the Wood Brothers team. But they also have no money. They have no money at all, but I still root for them every week because they still run the same number and the same basic paint schemes they've been running since like 1962. So I'm into that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see the 21 in Victory Circle someday. But yeah, so you have Chastain and Suarez, who are on Team Trackhouse.
Yep.
And they
And
also
now
bring in a third driver.
SVG.
Yeah, for next year, and also for a lot of the road courses in the past. And then also, I love the 23XI team because it's also a similar story. Even though it's backed by Michael Jordan, who's one of the most wealthiest athletes in the history of athletes, but he's not a historic NASCAR figure. He's just learning. So I also love that team for the same reason.
He's a huge NASCAR fan, though, for a long time.
He's a huge racing fan in general.
Yeah.
So if you remember when he first kind of got out of basketball altogether, he started playing golf very publicly. But at the same time, he also was fielding motorcycle racing teams. So he had like World Superbike teams that were his backing, and they were like a kind of a Tiffany blue colored motorcycle with the Jumpman logos on the side of them. So he did that first before he started doing NASCAR, but it's because he couldn't just run in and get a NASCAR team. It took him a while to build up enough people to put a NASCAR team together. So I'm a huge fan of 23X11 and Trackhouse for that exact reason that you are. In a field of multi-million-dollar teams, they are the underdogs. They are the upstart. Yeah. They are new. It's cool to see them. It's cool to see them take on Hendrick and Penske and Gibbs and have that kind of, new guy here, trying to make it happen. It's the same reason I also like RFK, because RFK is also got that Boston connection, being the Fenway part. But even though they have Roush seems to be less of an influence in that team. And obviously it's still a bigger team than the other two, but it's, I don't know, maybe it's just the Boston connection altogether.
Is Penske kind of is headquartered in Phoenix?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought so because we went to the museum there.
So
I'm pretty sure the headquarters there. I'm like, that must be a big deal for them. They must have all the suites and.
Penske's headquarters is here for his dealership network.
Okay.
His NASCAR race team is still in North Carolina or something.
Yeah.
But that's not here. So, but Penske himself, his dealership empire is here in Phoenix, and his feature store with the museum is here, which if you're ever in Phoenix and you're looking for a way to kill a couple hours, the Penske, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Bentley, whatever dealership has the Penske Museum in it. And it's free admission. It's 2 floors. It's filled with Penske-owned race cars that go back into the 70s. Sometimes even some 60s stuff that wasn't, his, but he's collected. There's some pace cars. I mean, Indy cars, NASCARs, IROC cars, sports cars. There's tons of glass cases full of different trophies and championships, and it's a pretty neat place. And like I said, there's no admission. It's right in Scottsdale. It's a good way to kill an afternoon here in Phoenix if you're in town. I think it's open 7 days, so totally worth checking out. So, they do a Cars and Coffee there once a month, I want to say. I've never been because I figure it's all Ferraris and stuff, and it's not my scene, but eventually I'll make it. So, but anyway, it was a great race. Ryan Blaney won the championship. He finished second. He was I'm glad he won over Larson and Byron. I don't like Hendrick's team much. And he wanted it. It was definitely some old school kind of NASCAR stuff going on there. He was super frustrated because Ross Chastain wouldn't let him pass, which is awesome. Because Ross Chastain was like, no, man, I'm going for a win. I don't care that you're going for the championship. I'm not going to give you the win, which I think is the way it should be.
Yeah.
I think that if you're going to win the race, you're going to win the race. Who cares about the champion? Now, if he was your teammate, maybe don't race him quite as hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they weren't teammates. They
No.
weren't even the same manufacturer. So he raced the crap out of him. And Blaney got pissed. And he bumped him real hard. He flipped him off on live television, which was great. But
saw
he damn near wrecked his car trying to pass Chastain, which wouldn't have gotten him anything other than the win. It wouldn't have made him double champion.
No.
You know, like Chastain's car was clearly faster. Let him win, man.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Sure, fight for the win if you want it, but if you crash out and you lose the championship because you didn't get first place, you're an idiot.
Yeah. And listen to the commentary where they're Dale Jr.'s like, man, they got to talk him down. Like, he has to calm down.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And they played the audio from inside Byron's car, who's also in the running for the championship. And his crew chief got on, or his spotter got on to somebody.
He's like, he's melting down. He's melting down.
He's like, hey, man, the 12 car's melting down. Just relax. He's going to wreck. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
So, because he was angry. He was really getting fired up, which I appreciate. I mean, listen, you're a competitor. You're trying to win the race. But at the same time, like, you fight that hard to win this one race and you might lose the championship. Maybe back off a little bit. But
Chastain wasn't
great.
Do anything wrong.
Nah, he raced him clean. He didn't bump him. He didn't touch him. The only contact between the two of them was when Blaney was trying to overpower him in the corner, and he wound up washing up the racetrack into the side of him. He hit Chastain. So all Chastain was doing was racing. You know, he wants to win.
So
at the end of the day, there's still a championship for the car manufacturer, for the team. There's all more than just the actual championship for the driver. So, man, get that win. Pad your record. Don't give it up.
What is Phoenix considered? It's obviously not a super speedway.
So Phoenix is like a mid-length short track. It's a mile.
Okay, mile. Oh, so like New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's like a big short track.
So
it's
that's
weird design.
Yeah, that was at 3 and 4 where they just
no
dive
boundary.
Down. Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah. There's no boundary, and if you hit it right, you can make up a ton of time in that corner. But also, it's super bumpy, and it upsets the car, and it could put you in the wall. So that's why you don't always see it when they're going at speed. But to see them, so every time the green flag drops, you see them just fan out 5, 6, 7 cars wide because they can. But they're also only doing acceleration speed. When you see them take that super low line at full race speed, and the car like practically leaps through the air going over those bumps, absolutely insane. But it's a way to dive bomb that corner and take a position. It's super cool.
Again, stuff I didn't realize when I was younger watching it, and now I've been watching it a lot, is like on a super speedway, Blaney would have wanted to be right behind Chastain for drafting.
Yep.
But on this type of track, Chastain kept getting in front of him because he upset the air and would take all downforce away from Blaney's car and make it handle worse.
Yep.
Which is an amazing tactic because without even he wasn't even really blocking. He was just like taking the air away, which is kind of crazy.
Yep.
Like that's a lot of multitasking of driving and also watching where he is to take the air away. I'm like,
sure,
that's pretty cool.
Sure. Yeah, and that's why you'll
like
see
totally legal tactic. Like,
yeah, well, that's why on the super speedways you'll see them side by side less because it slows them down so much being side by side. They run faster nose to tail, whereas in these shorter tracks they can run side by side at almost race pace and lose less time to the guys behind them.
And then, pit stop strategy. Like, talk about Hendrick having money.
Yeah,
like that's where it shows. Where like Larson's team. Like he has the best pit crew
by a mile, 9.5 seconds or less every pit.
Yeah, and he made up like the last race like 14 spots in the pits.
So
I think this
the
past
reason he
race he made
did
it 3 or
that
4 or
was
something.
because when he made it 14 spots because he took 2 tires versus 4, and everybody else took 4.
Yeah.
So everybody else took 9 to 10 seconds, and his team took 6. So that's
Yeah.
what the difference is right there. But also,
Yeah.
when you only take 6 seconds, you only get that much fuel too. You don't get as much fuel in the car.
Yeah, it's true.
So
But
there is a
man,
disadvantage to that as well.
that it does buy you a good team though.
Oh, 100%. And that's again.
And he's
it goes
annoyingly
back
a
to
good
why
driver.
there's nothing against Kyle Larson other than he's a whiny little baby who made some racist comments. So I don't like him because he's a whiny little baby who made some racist comments. That means he's probably not a good person. So
And then it's like, it's funny, like I was saying to Stephanie, I'm like, he'll like run kind of like near the back, like a dark horse a lot of the race sometimes, and then all of a sudden, like the last
friggin'
stage,
race.
guy's up in third, like top 5. You're like, where did he come from?
Yeah, every race too.
Yeah,
And it's just that strategy. They run a totally different strategy than everybody else, and they always wind up there somehow in the end. And it's the whole Hendrick team. It's not just him.
Mhm.
Byron does the same thing. Byron won 6 races this year. Like,
yeah,
dude's a child. How did he pull that off? Like, it's crazy. Yeah, Kyle Larson, taking nothing away from him as a driver, is an excellent driver. And other than his being kind of whiny, obviously making some terrible racist comments, I think part of the reason for my dislike of Larson is the same reason you don't like the Yankees, or same reason you don't like the Cowboys, or teams that just won all the time.
Yeah.
If I didn't grow up 10 miles north of Boston, I wouldn't be a Patriots fan either, because they're the annoying team that won all the time throughout the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, I get why people don't like them. I don't like Larson because I don't want to see him win anymore. There's somebody else up there. Let's give Chastain a chance. Chastain's, and Chastain and all the other drivers for Trackhouse and 23XI Racing are all up and comers that started in the back of the pack, and now they're all pretty consistently top 10 or at least top 15 drivers.
They were all in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they just got knocked out.
Every week they're at minimum top 15. So it's become, quite a thing to see these guys improve over the time we've been watching them. So anyway, it was totally worth it.
Would have been different. Would have been different if Elliott not missed a bunch of races. I don't know, because he certainly kind of pooped out at the end of the season.
He barely missed the playoffs, and he missed like 7 or 8 races.
Yeah.
So if he hadn't missed those races, he definitely would have been in the playoffs, and it would have been a whole different story for him too. So he's a past champion, so it is what it is. I'm more glad that Blaney won than, like I said, Larson or Byron. Blaney has never had a championship before. It's cool for him. He's an old school style driver, which I like. He's a Darrell Waltrip style, a Dale Earnhardt style. He has that like aggressive, which Chastain does too, which is another reason I like Chastain. Which is why they were racing each other the way they were racing each other. They were racing each other pretty clean but aggressive. And that's all you can ask for in a good NASCAR race.
And a lot of the other guys don't like it, and they get real whiny about it. It's like, come on.
I'll say with 30 laps left to 10 laps left, that race was anybody's game. And it was back and forth and back and forth. And Larson and Byron were catching, and Blaney and Chastain were banging doors. And any one of those 3 could have won the championship at that point in time. And Blaney had to literally calm down and set in behind Chastain. And once he did, Chastain just took off on him. So
again, I don't understand the appeal of F1, because I caught it the other weekend. There is no passing. There's nothing going on. People are excited about the 5th to 6th place passing. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, that's, sorry, it's boring.
Hey, I love a 5th to 6th place battle in NASCAR too, but F1 is.
But the whole field battles in NASCAR. That's the thing. There was cars move around. They pass. They can take different lines. You don't have to have this push to pass system, whatever the hell they call it. Like, they don't need that. I don't know.
I think the big deal with F1 is you have to get 100% into all of F1. you can't just watch the race. You need to be into qualifying. You need to care about behind the
I
scenes
guess.
stuff. So I, pre the Indy 500 this year, I was at our friend Brad's house. And he's a big F1 guy. Won't hold it against him, but he's a big F1 guy. And I watched qualifying with him. And qualifying in F1 is exciting as the NASCAR race is. Because the guys are going out there and thousands of difference in sectors, and the announcers have a lot of fun with it, and it was fun to watch the qualifying. But then the race, let's just follow the leader for 3 hours. Not as fun to me.
So, anyway, speaking of that, we're going to the Indy 500.
Yes, we are.
We'll be there. If people want to go, we'll be there.
Yep.
Um,
I'm excited because this year we have Indy 500 tickets and we have Daytona 24 tickets.
Yes, we're going to Daytona 24 hours. So if people want to go there, we'll be there all weekend.
I think Long Beach is going to be on our plans too.
Yes, we need to play in Long Beach. I would like to.
So yeah, if anybody wants to, hang out, let us know. But
also, guess what?
we are not the draw for the event, obviously.
No. We are taking my father-in-law. We're going to Daytona 500.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're going to Florida twice in a week?
No, they're not. They're like a month apart.
Oh, are they really?
It's you get January 28th and February 18th.
My brain still has speed weeks as a thing, I guess.
I know that was cool. That was a time in history.
Yeah, it had sports cars, motorcycles, and NASCAR all in 1 week. It's good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you could go to the Clash. That's close to you.
I thought about it. I want to do something this year at Laguna Seca. That's my goal.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Grid Life.
Grid Life looked cool there. It was cool at Lime Rock. So I bet it's as cool at Laguna Seca too.
Yeah, for sure. So my goal is to get there for that. So we'll see. So it's weird having a job that just allows me all this PTO. So
yep, enjoy
crazy.
It. Enjoy life.
Yeah, it's great.
To see these things.
It's great. I've already had 7 days off, and I've worked there for 4 months. So 3 months, whatever. Wild. Anyway,
so we've got on Sunday it was 105 days till Daytona. So
all right.
Now racing season's over.
I think I bought all my tickets. Yeah, I did.
Well, I was 105 days till the 500. Less till the Rolex. Oh, that reminds me. I'm speaking out loud on the podcast, but yeah, I got a call about a parking pass. That was the one thing you couldn't buy online for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, I bought my race ticket and I bought my plane ticket. So, and I have my time off.
I took care of the other stuff. So
that is the cool thing about racing season. Racing off season, not very long.
Yeah.
We get half in November, December, and then a couple weeks in January, and then boom, car racing starts again.
Mm-hmm.
So, NASCAR in February.
All right. Anything else?
Sports car racing next month? No, I don't think so. I think that's it.
Yeah, sounds good to me. All right. So, as always, you can follow us on Off Topic Podcast on Facebook, on Off Topic on Instagram. I am Race on Instagram and on Threads, which seems to be coming up. It seems to be more popular, so we're also on there on Off Topic. Basically, if you've got Instagram, it ports right over to Threads, so we're there. Brad, where else can they find you?
TSISS350 on Instagram. Also on Threads, I guess. I need to remember to check that. I haven't been really there very much. Also on Instagram, we have Scale Autocast. And I am putting together some stuff to put that, not contest, but kind of group build together. Talking to some people and doing some things and making a graphic. And I'll put that out pretty soon. I have pushed it forward a little bit because, like I said, I had some out-of-town guests and life and just didn't get there. So we'll get that going pretty quickly and give you cold weather people something to do car related in the cold weather time.
Oh,
But yeah, that's it.
EA Sports WRC game is out. I made a club for us. I haven't started a race series yet, but I'll post about that if I set one up. Probably I will, because it's almost winter time. So, but
Excellent.
I've got one set up.
I need to buy both games, so I'll get there.
Yeah. All right. Cool. As always, keep cars analog and names of roses.